In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 sunscreens that I've tried and tested on my mature skin to see whether they work well on their own or under makeup. And I've got drugstore and high-end products. Mature skin beauties, stay tuned. Welcome to Beauty by Des. I'm Des, I'm over 60 and I love talking about makeup, skincare, clothes and other bits and bobs that make me happy. I also have a website called Beauty by Des and I'm on Insta and Facebook too. Now if that sounds like your kind of content, please consider giving me a thumbs up because then it lets me know that I'm on the right track. And better yet, subscribe to the channel because that way YouTube might suggest my video to other older women who might enjoy this kind of content. And with that, let's crack on. So, sunscreens. Gosh, this was a really interesting topic. I did a video on this last year, but it was in my very early days as a YouTuber and I don't know how useful it was, but I will link it down below for you and up in the corner in case you're interested, because I chose some different products this time. I think all of them are different. There might be one that's the same, but I've done a really deep dive into it this time and I've tested them all under makeup on their own, and I think I've got a really good selection of both high-end and drugstore products. Now, what criteria did I use to choose these products? Well, the most important thing was they had to be fragrance-free because I am allergic to anything that has fragrance in it, or at least if the fragrance is just written down as fragrance or parfum as a generic term, then I don't know what's in it and I have to avoid it because otherwise I will get very bad dermatitis. I also wanted to choose a range of prices and a range of SPFs as well, and they all had to be fairly obtainable, at least in the UK and the US. Now, a little bit about my skin. My skin is normal, so it's not dry, it's not greasy, it's not even combination anymore, although it used to be. And I don't wear a moisturiser as well. If I'm wearing SPF, I don't bother with a moisturiser. I know for some people that can be quite a surprise, but because my skin's normal, I don't need a lot of emollients, I don't need a lot of humectants, I just need one decent SPF that has the emollients and the humectants that my skin needs. Now I just want to say a little bit about mineral and chemical sunscreens. All the sunscreens that I've chosen in this video are chemical except for one. Now, let's just talk a little bit about the difference between chemical and mineral, or I think sometimes called physical sunscreens. They do different things on the skin. So mineral sunscreens work by forming a barrier between your skin and the sun's rays, whereas chemical sunscreens absorb the sun's rays, turn them into heat, and then release that heat through the skin. So we've got 7 sunscreens. I've tested them all under makeup and on their own. Now, on top of the sunscreens, bar one, which is more of a tinted moisturiser, but we'll come to that in a moment, I used the number 7 Lift and Illuminate foundation, which is one of my all-time faves, and there was no pilling. All the sunscreens I used have skin-loving ingredients, either triglycerides or ceramides or hyaluronic acid, and all can, as I say, act as moisturisers as well as sunscreens, which they certainly did in my case. So let's start with the most inexpensive, and that's the Bondi Sands, this one here, which is SPF 50+. It costs £6.99, that's pounds, which is probably about $10 for 75ml. And it has very high protection and it's a water resistant lotion, and its key ingredients are homosalate, octocrylene, and it does have some alcohol in it. So because it's got alcohol in it, although it's quite far down the ingredients list, it might not be suitable for dry skins, or of course you can put a moisturiser underneath it. So let me just show you the consistency. So it's it's a little bit liquidy, so it's a cross between a milk and a cream, I'd say. So you can see it's running down a bit. I forgot to say, none of these sunscreens left a white cast. I mean, I'm really impressed with them all in that sense. And this one, it's got a slightly odd smell. It's not a perfume smell because none of them have fragrance in it, but it's maybe got a slightly medical scent to it. Slightly odd, but as you can see, no white cast. Doesn't feel greasy. Well, a very slight greasiness, but that soon wears off. I mean, the price is amazing. It's incredibly reasonably priced, very easy to get hold of, available in the States and in the UK. And it worked really well, so very happy to use that. The only thing that might put you off is the smell, but I don't think my skin smelled, although I forgot to ask him indoors. But he didn't notice anything, so it must have been fine. So that is the Bondi Sands Chemical Sunscreen SPF 50+. The second sunscreen that I tried is the Garnier Ambre Solaire Anti-Age Super UV 50+. This retails for £7, 450ml, so it's quite a small container compared to the Bondi Sands. It's SPF 50 and its key ingredients are octocrylene, hyaluronic acid and alcohol. So again, the alcohol is quite far down the ingredients list, so it's not super drying. And let me show you what it's like. It's similar to the Bondi, but maybe a little bit more creamy. Now, see, I've put far too much. You really don't need anything like as much as that on. I keep doing that because I haven't quite got used to using it yet. But it's extremely good. Again, let me just show you that it doesn't leave a white cast. I mean, obviously it's a bit white to begin with, but it soon wears off. And again, it feels lovely. In fact, it's a bit less greasy than the Bondi and feels very comfortable on the skin. In fact, it feels very moisturising. Now, that doesn't smell of anything, so that's a plus. I think from memory, my last video that I did on sunscreens, I did use a Garnier product, but it certainly wasn't as good as that. I'll have to check that out. So that's the Garnier Ambre Solaire 50+ sunscreen for £7 for 50ml. Right, now we're going to move to the more mid-price sunscreens, and we're going to start with one by Eucerin. Now, this is a brand that I am aware of, and I have used some of their products before because they're particularly good for dry skins and dry skin conditions. But this wasn't a sunscreen I'd come across, and I was watching a video by Dr. Dre. Now, Dr. Dre, I'm sure those of you watching my channel will know her. It's not the Dr. Dre of, Beats Dr. Dre. This is Dr. Dre, the dermatologist in the States. And she was talking about this Eucerin sunscreen. So I thought, well, let's see if I can get hold of it here. And I have been able to get hold of it here. And this is it. And it is the Photo Aging Control. It's a chemical sunscreen. It's £11.90 for 50ml. And it's SPF 30. Now, this doesn't have any alcohol in it. It is a chemical sunscreen, as I say, and it has glycerin in it as well. So this is also, so this has a pump rather than a tube application, and it is quite creamy. Now, it has that slight sunscreen smell to it. Although maybe it's not a sunscreen smell, maybe it's more of a moisturiser smell. But it goes on very nicely. Rubs in quickly, feels like a moisturiser. I mean, you'd expect that from Eucerin, wouldn't you, really? Yes, it's really not much of a fragrance. Well, obviously it doesn't have fragrance, but it's not much of a sort of, yeah, it doesn't really smell anything once it's absorbed. And there you are, no white cast, really, really good quality, nice and moisturising, not greasy, but obviously more expensive than the other two, because for your 50ml, you are paying £11.90 or thereabouts. I have to say, actually, a lot of these prices change every time you pop onto a website. Let's say it's a drugstore website in the UK or in the States. The prices fluctuate because obviously they're on special offer or they've got some campaign going on or something. But anyway, this is definitely more expensive than the Garnier and the Bondi, but it's a really good quality one, and as it doesn't have alcohol in it, it might be better for those of you with drier skins. Right, now we come to one of my favourites that I've been using for many a year, and it's a moisturiser / SPF, and it's the CeraVe Facial Moisturising Lotion. Costs around about £13 for 52ml, so it's a bit more expensive than the Eucerin, and it has an SPF of 25. Now, it also has alcohol in it, again quite far down the ingredients list, but it also contains niacinamide and glycerin and ceramides as well. Now, I absolutely love this moisturiser, and I have talked about this in other videos as well, but let me just show you. The delivery system is a cross between the two lower end priced SPFs and the Eucerin. So you can pump out as much or as little as you need. That's what it looks like. There's absolutely no scent to it at all. It feels lovely on the skin, very moisturising, doesn't leave a white cast. I just think it's a great quality moisturiser in the mid-priced range, but as I say, because it's got a bit of alcohol in it, it might be a little bit drying for those of you with drier skin. But perhaps if you were to put a moisturiser on top, although to be honest that seems a bit double bubble with this one because it does sell itself as a moisturiser with a sunscreen, whereas the others we've talked about are sunscreens that happen to have moisturisers in them. But I do love it, and it's definitely my go-to moisturiser with an SPF in it. Now let's go to Beauty Pie, which is my other favourite SPF that I have been wearing a lot since I bought this towards the end of last year, and it's this one. So it's the Beauty Pie Super Healthy Skin Ultralight UVA UVB. Now I think it is chemical, and the only reason I say that because it doesn't say on their website, but because it contains octocrylene, which is an ingredient in all the other chemical sunscreens that I've just talked about, I think it must be classed as chemical, because it seems that the ones that are that don't contain those kind of ingredients like octocrylene, but the ones that contain titanium dioxide, for example, they are the mineral sunscreens, and there is one, and we're coming to that in a moment. So this one I would say is a chemical sunscreen. I absolutely love it. You do have to be a member of Beauty Pie, or you have to pay £10 to be a day member, a one-off fee, and I'll come to that in a moment. But this is it. It comes in a tube. It doesn't leave a white cast. It doesn't have fragrance. It smells of nothing. I mean, look how quickly that's absorbed. It's really, really excellent. I think it's lovely and light. I mean, it does depend, of course, on what protection you actually want in terms of numbers. Do you want 25? This is, I think, 25 or 30. This one, yeah, it's 25. So these two are the lowest SPFs that I've used in this video. So something to remember is with SPFs, if you use a 50, you're not getting double the protection that you would get with a 25. It's only a small percentage increase in protection. So obviously the best way to protect your skin from the sun is not to go out in it or not to sit out in it. But you know, we're all going to do that at some point because most of us love the sun. I know I'm like a sunflower. When the sun comes out, I put my face up to it like that, and when it goes in, I go a bit like this. But I try not to put it in the sun for too long, maybe 5 minutes a day or something like that. So this Beauty Pie product cost me £9.14 plus my membership, but I am going to rank the SPFs at the end of the video. So stay tuned until the end and you'll see where Beauty Pie comes in the ranking. Now I've just got a couple more to go. The next one is the only mineral or physical sunscreen that I've got, and it's this one here, the Bioderma Photoderm Max Tinted Cream. At least I'm calling it mineral because it contains titanium dioxide, which, according to Birdie's website, is a key ingredient in a mineral sunscreen. It also contains alcohol, but again, it's quite far down the ingredients list. And actually, interestingly, it does contain octocrylene, which a lot of the chemical sunscreens contain as well. So you can see it's not as straightforward as you would perhaps hope it might be. Now this one's a tinted sunscreen. I've been using this on and off for about 10 years and I absolutely love it. Now it only comes in one shade, which is a bit mysterious because I'm sure it can't suit every shade of skin by any means, but so I don't know why Bioderma only do it in one shade, or at least I can only find it in one shade. But it seems to work for me. Now this is it here. It's a lovely cream. It's got a great consistency. No fragrance, doesn't smell of anything, rubs in really well. I mean, obviously it's a tinted sunscreen, but you can see you don't really get much of a tint. I mean, it's obviously a bit glistening this now because I've put cream on it, but I don't think it gives much of a tint. It is an SPF 50 plus, so you get a really good coverage. And I suppose what I used to do back in the day, before I started to really think about sunscreens, is I used to just apply this on holiday. I never used it in the UK. It was only if I was going on holiday and I wanted to get some coverage on my face rather than using a body version of a sunscreen, which is what, of course, we all used to use back in the day. Unfortunately, the Bioderma isn't available in the US, but I've found a really good dupe, which I wish was available in the UK. And that's a CeraVe tinted sunscreen with an SPF of 30, and that is definitely a mineral sunscreen. It's got zinc oxide and titanium dioxide in it. So there are two examples. One we definitely know is a mineral, and one is a possible mineral sunscreen for a mid-priced, I would say. The Bioderma's £15. I can't remember what the CeraVe is, but it's probably comparable. And I guess that's because they've got the tint in them as well as the SPF. And finally, my 7th sunscreen for mature skins is this Super Goop. Unseen Sunscreen. It is definitely a chemical. Now this is a mini because I just wanted to try it. I didn't want to buy the full size, but the full size costs £32 for 50ml. Now, interestingly, you can't get this SPF 30 in the States. You can only get SPF 40, and I think this probably goes back to something to do with the FDA rules differing from the EU rules. But anyway, you can get a version of it, and it's still the Unseen Sunscreen. Now, this sunscreen is the only one that contains what apparently is the gold standard of UVA protection, and it's called avobenzone, which may account for why it's the priciest of the 7. Now, I have to say, I really like this. And what's interesting about it is it's a completely different type of product. This is more like an ointment. There it is. It smells of nothing. It goes on. It feels greasy to begin with, but it's sort of, I suppose because it's an ointment, or it looks like an ointment, I suppose there's something sort of slightly medicinal about it, which I quite like. But I have to admit it's greasy, but then as you start to apply it, it dries down really quite quickly. And then it starts to feel really velvety on the skin. I love that. Yes, I mean, you can see. So you can see there's no greasiness there left on the top like some of the other sunscreens leave. And it does feel beautiful. It's a great base for makeup. Now, I have to say, in the UK, it's actually quite difficult to get hold of the SPF 30. I managed to get hold of this mini on Cult Beauty, but at the moment it looks like it's only available on the Net-a-Porter website, which kind of gives you a clue as to how expensive it is. So let me rank them first by price for you. So the Bondi comes in at 9p per millilitre, followed by the Garnier at 14p, so quite a bit more expensive, not quite double. Followed by the sort of mid-priced ones, which are the Eucerin at 24p, the CeraVe at 25p, and then the Beauty Pie at 34p, which is really the most expensive of the mid-priced. But then we come to the pricier ones, and the Bioderma, which is 37p, and then finally the really super expensive one, which is the Supergoop at £1.56 per ml. Now, let me tell you how I would rank them. So if I were choosing a reasonably priced one, I would definitely go for the Garnier. So today I've got this under my skin. I have no other moisturiser, followed by my foundation, which is the Lisa Eldridge, and I think my skin looks pretty good. As I say, it doesn't peel under makeup. It's really reasonably priced. It sinks into the skin quickly, and it's an absolute winner in the cheaper of the SPFs, I think. In the mid-priced range, well, I love the CeraVe and I love the Beauty Pie. They're both my favourites, but obviously I'm going to keep trying the Eucerin because I've never used it before and it seems to be very pleasant. So I'm really happy with all three in the mid-priced ranges. And also the top price, the Bioderma I love, but I probably won't use that until I'm on holiday. And then finally, I have to say, I really, really love the Supergoop. I love that velvety texture that you get after you've applied it. So if I felt like spending a lot of money, I'm trying to hunt it down in this country because it's a US-based company, I would probably buy a full-sized one. So there you have it. That is my walk through 7 sunscreens for the mature skin. If you found this video helpful, informative, or even amusing, please consider giving it a good thumbs up and better yet subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And leave me a comment below. Let me know, have you tried any of these sunscreens? What did you think? Would you pay £32 for a sunscreen? It's a lot of money. However, as I say, I don't use a moisturiser as well, so I am cutting down in that way. Let me know in the comments below, what have you tried? What have you enjoyed? And thank you again so much for watching. I can't tell you what it means to me. And I'll see you on my next one. Bye.